All right, everyone, we've seen another market close and we have a lot of information to unpack. We'll talk about PPI. We'll talk about how the Qs reacted to it. So QQQ. But then we'll also give an update on NVDA popping out of its recent slump. And then also Palantir finally on the move. SoFi is still messing around. And then I have a penny stock for you that is absolutely popping off right now. And then an update on bigbear.ai because something critical is happening in their charts. We need to watch for it and we need to be aware of how it's positioned right now and where it could potentially go from here. So guys, I'm going to release the technicals on this over at the Discord as well as my day trading technicals on the Qs, which I put out. I've been putting out in the morning as often as I can, where you can go ahead and see those lines, and I'll show you how they turned out today. Code word for the Discord, by the way, to save 50% off your first month sign up is Doctor, DOCTOR. So we got some really good news today, and we popped off a new all-time high price, even though we kind of sold off a little bit, but still found support at the 5 EMA. So still not a bad day. We're still in double top territory, depending on what we get from the CPI, depending on what we get from Jerome Powell. We just have to watch and listen. I thought today would have been a little bit more of a rocket ship, but I'll still take exactly what we got. We can still pounce from here further to the upside. We can still hit that 602 to 610. We'll watch and see if that's what we get. Now, some of the concern that we had that kept us from moving a lot higher, I think, is the fact that we actually had some negative numbers for PPI, which means that would be deflation rather than disinflation. So rather than inflation slowing down to a crawl, instead it was one that was like, oh, well, I guess some of those prices couldn't hang there. The trouble with deflation is that then that can dig into corporate profits. That if they no longer have pricing power, then those corporate profits start to recede, and then we see trouble in the markets as well, which can bring along with it some multiple compression. Now, mind you, that's a domino effect. It's not necessarily a snap type event that we would see where we start to see the market plummet right away, but it is something that's going to draw a hairy eyeball, if you will, in its direction to be like, corporate profits should be worried, which might make the Q3 earnings, when we see those come out, they could start to get pretty interesting, and especially the forward guidance that we hear. Are we hearing companies come out and talk about their efficiencies? They're allowing for that pricing power to take place anyway, because if so, then that could be a good form of deflation. However, if it's a lack of pricing power because the consumers aren't there to support it, well, then that turns into recessionary talk. So that's what we want to be aware of and why we didn't necessarily see the same bullishness that we could have seen today. So let's put this up here, and I want to drop down from this down to the 5 minute and look at this tangly mess. It looks like static on a TV screen. I'll reset the view and we'll stretch it out a little bit. Now, I want you to just pay attention to, first of all, this trend line that I showed you in yesterday's chart. Yeah, we popped above it, and that brought on that new pivot that you see up there. But then look what happened. We came down below it. We had a previous pivot, which also happened to be a Fibonacci retracement value, bounced up, hit the trend line, and got that big old rejection. And then we were able to come up above that. Let's turn off the EMAs for just a moment, just to see what that looks like. Because with these lines, you can see down here for support, we got the turnaround, resistance, turnaround. These technicals all drawn before the market opened. And so that's part of the service offering to help support you in this, to show you where we can find those supports, resistances, where we can expect to see those turning points throughout the market day. So we were not able to stay on top of this support that we saw up here. Instead, we got rejected off as resistance, sold down, and it got tangled up in here where we see all those different pivots from recent price action. We really got tangled up in there, sold down through it, got snagged in the end of it. So the point here is mostly to look and see that the lines are exactly where we would have those turnarounds. Even all the way down here, when we had trouble around 579, you started to get that long wick, and you also had a previous pivot support line, and then you got a rocket ship green candle as we started to get into the last 20 minutes of the trading day. If we move over to Bitcoin, we talked about this break in structure. Check out that engulfing candle we got going on today as this is shaping up for us. That low inflation print, not so bad. I think that Bitcoin is going to continue to do well. If we close up above the 50, that's a good thing. But then we still have to watch and see that we retest it and find that we have it as support. These long bottom wicks out here are good. The fact that we couldn't quite get that close down below the 5 and the 13 is a bullish sign. The RSI back in a bullish territory in the daily chart. On a weekly chart, rightly at 58, and on the monthly basis at 69. I teach middle schoolers. It's a hard number for me to say. So right at 69 for that, which means that we're out of overbought territory, but we do want to watch those monthly candles that we have up there. Man, that's scary until we get up into that and start to close up in this territory, or even up above it would be even better, that we actually see a close above 125. Then we can get back into that price discovery mode. Until then, we got to watch that selling pressure that shows up around 116 all the way up to that 125 level. So the big show stealer, by the way, in crypto would be AVAX, but I was talking about this for a while ago. So you can see the technicals that I have on here. The last date that I have it drawn on here is June. And we came up here. I said, watch out for the resistance. We found it. We got rejected today. We got a volume conviction move up through that resistance. And now we're flirting with the 23.6 that's on here as well. So still at another one of my resistance lines with that current price as of this recording. If we're able to stay up above this resistance, turn it into support, that double bottom that we see on the weekly chart, let me put that on there for you, and we'll take down all these technicals. This double bottom that's right here. Today we broke the neckline on it, and we did it with good volume as well. We could be looking for this 32.61, potentially up to where we see that next tangle of resistance, which happens to be doubled up here around $35 per AVAX token. So be on the lookout for that. We could have some further price appreciation for AVAX on a momentum basis. The RSI is about 57 on the weekly chart, which is great. It's at 60, almost 68 on a daily basis, which is also great, still not overbought. And on a monthly basis, 49.96. This is exactly what I would be looking for watching for when those big momentum, those longer term trends start to take place. So we can do that, and then we can also combine it with whatever news happens to be driving it in the background. That can tell us a little bit more about where we expect a move like this one to go. So momentum moving in, and we also have volume conviction in that price action. So we want to see if that area around $27 can hold as support, because if it can, we can make that next $7 move, which can be pretty nice, around 20-30%, we'll say, just for a very rough estimate. Now into NVDA, check this out. Up where I had these resistance lines up here, I said closing up above with that buying pressure through this area right here, which was previously marked as resistance. I get to go back to color coding this as green for support for us, that we should find bounces off this area. Nice gap up today that we went all the way up. Where's that gap? Let me see, 175, and then yesterday we were at 171. So we had that $4 gap in between, and it puts us back up above the moving averages that we have in here. The next thing that we're looking for, if we're going to continue to see that price rise, we got to fight through the resistance that happens to be up to, it looks like 179.46. Once we get up above that, then we have green lights up to about 184, and that's where we really start to flirt with this all-time high. And if we did make it back up there, especially with this descending bottom on this, that shows that widening volatility, that even though the bulls are able to push the price up, the bears are able to beat it back down even further from last time. And if we can't overtake that peak that happens to be up at the top of this on that run, if it starts to sell back down, that could be another much further push down for a further bottom off of this one. So we would then have this as support again, and then a couple different supports down along the way, as well as the moving averages. And I said that the 50 EMA was going to be significant, and you guys can be the judge of that. I would say that it's been pretty significant so far, that NVIDIA doesn't often make it down to its 50 EMA. It's been a long time since it touched it, going all the way back to the 7th of May was the last time that we were there, and we revisited it on September the 2nd, and it wouldn't take long to see a return on your trade or investment, depending on what it is. If you were to enter on September the 2nd, as of today, September the 10th, 8 days later, fewer than that in terms of trading days, we find ourselves up again. Now we have to watch and see, can we stay up above these moving averages for support? And if we go to a weekly basis, we actually came down to the 13-week, and I said that's something we also don't often reach, is that 13-week EMA. Watch for that as good support for us that could have a good strong bounce off of that. So from the time we hit that low price was 164, and then today peaking out at 179. So that $15 difference in those prices, getting close to 10% swing from the bottom of that to the top of the next one. So it's a really nice move. Palantir finally breaking out of its trading range, also breaking up above this trend line, going across the top of these, and this is a break that could continue for us, especially if it's on good volume. So if we go out and check the volume isn't majorly convincing. And if you look at that shape of that daily candle, this that I told you at 166.72, where did we close today? 166. 74. A candle up to the north of this is a bullish thing. It could carry us back up to 185. If instead we show after an indecisive candle like this one, especially if we gap back down, that would be a very bearish thing for us to see. That could send us back down to the support levels down here, pushing us through the moving averages and down through the support. So that's what to watch for Palantir. SoFi, you dog. It was able to push itself all the way up to today. Let's stretch that out. We'll talk about that high price that it moved up to. Just after market open, 26.86, and then retraced all the way back down until this low point. As of what I got here on the chart, that low point coming down to 25.30. So about $1.50 swing from top to bottom of that thing. That was, nice rhyme. Just wild for us and puts us right back in this trading range that we were in before. It looks like we were able to pop down below. We were able to pop up above it. But it looks like we're looking for that really true breakout that allows us to get outside of it. And when we look at the daily chart, I'll take down a lot of the technicals on here so that way they're not so much in your way from where they're at right now. So let's hide that one, and let's also hide these. There we go. Should clean it up a lot for you as you look at the chart, as the chart that's in front of you. And we're just stuck in here. So until we can close up above this 26.15, and until we get up on top and sit on top of the 26.61, yeah, we reached and slapped above it, but we didn't stay up there, got sent right back down, careening back down. We could watch ourselves go to the bottom of this trading range. That would also put us south of the moving averages that we have on here. This is a close down below the 5. If we also close down below the 13, that could potentially send us lower from where we're at. We should watch the market bias for some indication. All right, so last two, I'm going to get into some penny stocks just real quick. One of them has run significantly, and it looks like there's enough news in the background to keep it going for a while that we could see from where it's at right now, maybe another 50 to 60% increase. However, it is starting to become significantly overbought. I think there's probably going to be a settling period in here, followed by that next leg up from what we have, and that's RZLV, and then we'll wrap things up with bigbear.ai for you. So for RZLV, look at the volume profile on this thing. Absolutely enormous. So I was covering this thing for a while now, down below the 200. I said, watch for all the resistance that we have right around that blue 200 EMA. We got to get on top of it. As a matter of fact, I think it was in one of my options workshops, somebody was asking me about RZLV, and they're like, well, what should I watch for in this? And I said, watch for us to get up above that resistance area. Watch for us to get up above the 200 EMA. After that, we have a lot of pressure here that suggests that will really make a significant move higher. And that's exactly what we got, was that significant move higher, a major volume day on the 28th of August. And the volumes just have not returned to normal since that point in time. So if we take down the technicals on this just for a moment, just to look at the candle structure that we have here, man, like I'm not ready to try and catch this thing while it's doing its rocket ride up, especially not with the RSI as at 87.6 on a weekly basis. It's at 78.44 monthly basis. Now this is where it gets interesting because that's at about 51. So what I think might happen from here is that we could see some of that retracement, a little bit of a give back from this rocket ship ride. It doesn't necessarily have to, but we could see it. And let me put the technicals back up for a moment because we could fall back to any one of these support lines, maybe even to this trend line, although that'd be a very far fall, maybe taking us back down to about 545, for example, because we are right up against resistance right now. If we're able to pull back just a little bit, calm this thing down a little bit, get that momentum reset, that could be that next thing that starts to push us well up above 6 into that 779 or even 937 territory. And when we look at what this chart looks like on a monthly basis, there is just a lot of room besides this one pivot low that we have right here, which I'm actually going to mark right now as I record this video. There's that pivot low. That happens to be at $8.56. That is likely a very critical line that we're looking at. And then up above that, we have that low price, which happens at $9.34. So from where it's at right now, I think that we could have close to a 50% upside, especially if it starts to retrace, starts to pull back on us a little bit with that volume conviction that's in there. This is a company, especially because it sounds like there's a lot of news catalysts, a lot of monetary catalysts coming its way. Its market cap is $1.52 billion, so it's small enough to really move. And the shares that are available for float, 79.54 million. One of the risks that we have for a company like this one is likely a dilution risk, that you get capital raises and it dilutes the stock, and then it usually comes tumbling back down. Maybe that could be that thing that sets up that next rally, if you will, for that next leg up in price. Now for Big Bear AI, looking at the 5-minute chart, this is that support area I've been talking about. Look what we got today. In the market, we finally pushed down below it, and now in the post-market hours, we're trying to push up on the bottom of this thing, and these candles just keep on hitting 473. Super low volume on this, only several thousand for every 5 minutes or so that comes by. Can't get back up in there so far. Plus, there's a trend line that now we're happening to fall below. So on a daily basis, let's go to the daily chart. There we go, and take a look at what we got. We actually have some buying pressure down below it, but I showed you that price action that made us return to it. We need to get back in here. Not too far south is the 200 EMA, and the 200 SMA is pretty much at the same price. They're both at 457, just barely crossing over each other. Maybe we come down and tag it. We're going to have to see. If they push down below the 200 EMA and SMA, you have this support area from 445 all the way down to 425, and we could see a push down that low. Now, I think we start to go south of $4, things start to get very exciting, because the cheaper this stock is, the more that next big news event, if it's going to come our way, if they're going to get some of that big beautiful bill funding, it's going to send this thing like a rocket ship ride, and it's probably going to have quite a few days of that ride. It's probably not just going to be one and done. It could be a pop, a little bit of a drop, and then continue to run, or it could be pop, 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 where it just runs for 2-3 days straight. We're going to have to watch and see what we get for it. I think it still is an exciting stock to watch, but as I've said for what feels like months now, although it's probably been weeks, I'm going to have to look, I will say definitely through July, August, now into September, so probably 2 months' time. This is going to be a momentum-based stock. It's going to stay that way for a while until it can show us some sort of profitability, if that ever comes to fruition. So I'm excited about it, and if we get that news catalyst, that should be a very bullish thing for us, unless some bearish thing comes along in the meantime. But I think that the next news event that happens is likely going to be a good one for us, that some cash gets tossed their way, and let's keep our fingers crossed. I have 100 shares of it, and that's it. And I did all my trading with it. I'm just letting those 100 shares ride. And should I ever decide to do anything, right now I've been selling calls against it, which is a bearish thing. And while you guys have seen the price action, goes right along with the movements that we're seeing. And if we get a change in nature of those candles, or if we get that news event, I'll tell you what, I'll be one of the first people to tell you about it. You guys come on over to the Discord, come and join me and the other expert panelists, the community of thousands of members. We are there to support you in your journey towards financial freedom and building alpha in your portfolio. Also, if you want to learn this technical analysis, if you want to learn how to trade using those technicals, if you want to learn how to trade using options, I like zero DTEs. They're actually turning out to be one of my favorites for that day trading aspect. I was only able to make one trade today, got about 25-ish% over a few minutes time, 25% profit. Not so bad for only putting in just a little bit of work with those day trading technicals that you saw, which I share over at the Discord. In any case, if you want to learn that stuff, there's some coursework through Stockmo Academy. You can sign up using the code word doctor for that. Same code word that you use for the Discord. Code word doctor is going to get you a $400 discount on those courses. And if you bundle the two courses together, you will get a bundle discount as well on top of the already incredible discount that you get, thus increasing the value to you. Guys, thank you very much for watching. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education. Remember, my friends, that learning is earning, and we'll see you in the next video.